Hi, my name is Ellie. Welcome to my channel. I'm starting this journey on YouTube to share some practical information like how money works and how we can understand different types of financial products. And I also want to share as an entrepreneur for the last 6 years, some of my journey so you can learn from my mistakes and some of my success. Hopefully can help somebody out there. I want to, just first say that I really appreciate everybody who gave me support, and I posted on the Facebook, and everybody was so encouraging. Says, I'll be watching you. I'm excited, right? This is a super nervous wreck for me because I always feel like I'm not prepared. I've been wanting to do this YouTube channel for quite a few years, but never took action, or took action for a couple of times and stopped because this, fear of judgment, fear of criticism is pretty real for me. But that's another sign of, as an entrepreneur, we have to face the fear and do it anyways. And so I decided that why not? Let's just do it. 2022. I want to make this a goal and consistent and persistent at doing it. So I hope you guys can hold me accountable for that. This is my first video. I thought about what I can do for the first video. I can talk about my entrepreneur journey. I can talk about so many financial concepts, but I decided to just do one topic, which is the topic of long-term care. It's weird. It's Christmas this time. And why am I talking about long-term care? The only reason I think it's because, not that it's the most important thing, it's because there are many law changes coming that I will be discussing that will impact everybody who lives in California. Majority of people are W-2 earners, so it will be great for people to know what's coming up, right? And so first, I'll talk about long-term care. And a lot of people will say, why long-term care? I don't need to hear it. It doesn't impact me. So let me share my screen. I prepared a little presentation just to kind of give you some visuals because I'm a visual person. So hopefully this will help you as well. So for long-term care, there is a talk of mandatory payroll tax coming to California for long-term care. That's why there's an urgency on my part to talk to everybody about this. First of all, what is long-term care? What is considered long-term care? So long-term care is, they call it the 6 daily activities, right? What is 6 daily activity? You get up in the morning, you go transfer from your bed to the bathroom, right? So that's called transferring. And then you do the next thing, which is, you're gonna go to the toilet, right? So that's the second thing. And then you're gonna walk, hopefully, to the toilet. So that's walking, right? Moving around. And then, hopefully after that, you want to bathe yourself. So bathing. And then you want to dress up. So you don't just go to eating, right? You're not naked and you go eating. So you're gonna dress up and then you go eat. So those are considered 6 daily activities, basically very, very normal things we all do. If you cannot perform 2 out of 6 these activities, then the long-term care is actually determined by the medical professions. When medical doctors said, yeah, you are medically, you need long-term care, then you will qualify if you have a long-term care insurance. Okay. Now, there are people who can do the 6 daily activity, but cognitively impaired. That will also fall into this long-term care as well. So those are the exception. But basically, the criteria is 2 out of 6 daily activity you cannot do. Now, we can always talk about statistically, do I need it? What's the percentage? I will get it. If we happen to be the person that's lucky or unlucky, right? It just takes a one person for us to become that person need long-term care. For instance, my husband, he's only 40 some years old when he first came down with a illness that was debilitating, right? And so for that, he couldn't work for the many years. And then that will consider, even though they're part of time, he could do 2 out of 6 activity. But you can tell that these kind of things happens to people where unexpected. So that can happen to a lot of us. And I have seen clients who are very young, 40 some years old who came down with an illness, let's say cancer, then they are not able to do after a while because of chemotherapy and different kind of treatments. They're not able to perform 2 out of 6. I've seen people who are aging and then just, dementia, Parkinson's disease, these kind of things can really, and MS, right, develop later on. So those things can happen, does not have to be old. So if that is the case, we do not want to be the statistics that we're the one, luckily, unfortunately, to qualify for long-term care. If we don't have it, it would be really bad. Because of the aging population, 2 out of 3 people aging will have cognitive impairment danger. So that's going to be really, really difficult, because if you look at statistics, most people live to be as long as 20 years, because you don't just go from discovering Alzheimer to, become deathly ill. You go from Alzheimer, and then little bit by little, you're forgetting to turn off the stove. You forget where you live, and you forget the people you live with. So those kind of things. But imagine, right, if you are the caretaker for this, because typically, let's say a man becomes ill, it falls on the woman. The women usually live longer than a man. If that's the case, imagine women taking care of the men for however many years, and then we put our lives on hold. And then who's going to take care of us when that person goes to heaven, right? So that is statistically that most of the caretaker, they become critically ill, or, having this stress on their body, become ill themselves. And a lot of us who are women are the designated caretaker. They end up don't have enough money to live on. Then we become destitute, right? So that's why I'm passionate about the subject, about anything financial, because I have seen so many people who work very, very hard, not able to retire. And I just don't think that we work hard. We should have a good life, not to be dealing with, lack of money, not dealing with lack of preparation, that kind of stuff, right? So that's the reason why I'm here. I want to talk to all of us about that. I really believe that if you're not aware, then you cannot do anything about it. But if you're aware, then you at least have some choices. Right? So hopefully I'll give you some choices and understanding what you can do about it. This topic is talking about, are you insuring the right risk? Why? Because people typically, myself included, I was a 20 years an accountant. And really, as an accountant, everybody thought that I knew financial knowledge, right? That's not the case. And CPAs, right? Don't assume that just because they're CPA, they're financial professionals. They're a financial professional in terms of taxes. But they're not financial professional in terms of personal financial planning, right? So what are the risks? So first thing is, most people, they all have car insurance. So we all understand, like, people think of insurance as a cost, right? But how many of us would dare to just drive out of the house without car insurance? It's quite, right? You would probably not want to do that. And you probably don't want to go out of the house without an airbag either, right? So because, you never know. So for that reason, we know that, we know to think ahead, we know to kind of prepare, but we just don't know enough about these life insurance and long-term care type of thing, right? So all of us, if you own a house, especially in California, there's wildfires and things like that, wildfires. So, chance of a house burned down is 0.77%. So less than 1%. So if you see those squares, the less squares, right? That means those are the chances that you don't have to worry about. But the 7 out of 900 people will have to, experience something like that disaster. And then you have people who are, health insurance. We all think that we must have a health insurance, but a critical illness, I've been paying for health insurance for ages, right? And then I don't really have a healthcare need, major healthcare need. Once in a while I do get sick, but emergency room, I've been there maybe once, twice, the most, only because I get really, really sick. I couldn't really, like, it's laryngitis, that type of thing, like really painful, but nothing like critically ill. So I never experienced that. But my husband has gone there many times. So, that happens, right? Critical illness is 2.3%. But look at long-term care. Long-term care is 70% of people in our population. That means if there's people in your room, right, 2/3 of people will have some kind of long-term care needs. So are we the lucky one, or, we cannot tell, right? So that's why I think there's a huge need And that is why the government is really concerned, because aging population, we have more and more people, right? And then just really in life, right, we have a COVID stress, we have a political unrest, right? Just a lot of things going on politically. A lot of people have stress about that. You have, just a lot of environmental stress, right? So many different things can cause us stress. So people just right now are not as healthy as we could be. Of course, eating habits and what have you, right? So who pays for these things, right? So some people say, well, government will take care of me, right? Let's look at that. So Medicare is a government-sponsored program, but unfortunately, it does not take care of long-term care. Okay, and some people say, well, my work will take care of me. Well, I've seen many people's insurance to work. They do not have long-term care, right? I would say 90+% of companies do not provide long-term care unless you're working for government. In the military, you might have something, but more and more people, I would say, do not have long-term care. So long-term disability is not long-term care, just so we have to understand, right? And what I find people is when I talk to people, I say, do you know if you have long-term care? They looked at me very confused, and they don't know for sure, right? And that's exactly why I really want to bring this conversation to everybody, because if we don't know what we have, we are just really not planning to fail, but planning, unfortunately, just not planning, and then not planning could lead us to fail in life, right? And we do not want that, because we work hard, and I think all of us want to have a lifestyle, and every one of us wants to have a peace of mind, the security, right? So that is a reason why, and you see more and more people, become homeless. It just could be from somebody who's, ill prepared for these things, and one day wake up, they don't have a job, and something happened, right, medically. So you just never know. So that's one of the reasons why this is so important. But there is a program called Medicaid. Yeah, that is a government-sponsored program that is for low income, right? So you could qualify for that, but that means you have to spend down to $2,000 to $3,000 of the income before you can qualify. Are you feeling good to have $2,000 in your bank account only for your whole lifetime, right? And then you think about what kind of quality care you have for life, right? Does the government take good care of you? Do you think? Do you think the government is going to give you the best care when you're in that nursing facility? I would suggest you go and visit those nursing facility, because I had a American grandpa. He actually fell and had a stroke, actually, and he fell and he never recovered from it. So when he went to the nursing home, it was quite startling that it smelled really bad, not enough staff, just a lot of really bad things, right? So that's what got me to think about all these things for myself. It's like, oh my gosh, what about me? Who's going to take care of me? Do I really want to put burden on my family to take care of me, right? So I won't talk too much about additional long-term care, but basically it's not for long-term care purpose. It will take care of a maximum 100 days. That's more like a rehab, right? So out of hospital, you get sick, you will have something. But what is the cost? What are we exposed to? Cost of long-term care, true long-term care, 2 out of 6 things you cannot do. In California, San Diego, it's $5,000 currently. In 2040, which is 20 years from now, it's going to be $10,000 a month, right? I don't know about you, just at-home care, just have the peace of mind, somebody come to my house. How can you afford that? Because if we're sick, not only are we adding more costs to ourselves, we also have to incur this care taking, right? It's very expensive. So, are we doing ourselves a justice by, not thinking about it, right? I used to joke, like, I don't like to do housework. Like, when I was younger, I would just sweep things under the whatever rug, right? Sort of in that way, just try not to think about it, right? Anything I don't want to deal with, I don't want to think about it. Unfortunately, eventually you will realize that it's not going to do us any favor. And as we get older, one of the biggest things I want to talk about is there are a lot of gurus out there, I've heard, right? By term invest rest, you can self-insure. You do not need long-term care. You do not need life insurance. You definitely don't need permanent life insurance, right? Those things. I'm going to do more videos on that. We can take a look at that, explore that, right? Is that true, right? One of the biggest drawback of people who do not have a standalone long-term care or life insurance on the side, besides their work insurance, is the scary thing is like, we don't know if we're going to have a job. If we don't have a job, let's say I make $100,000 a year, and then let's say work, right? If I die, work give me 1 to 2 times my salary. So 1 to 2 times my salary will be better than nothing. It will give you like 1 year to 2 years of your income. But if you have small kids, is that enough, right? And then what about people who lose their jobs and then their families without any insurance, right? And then if they have an illness, which happened in COVID, right? Some people got an illness, some people became really, really sick in the hospital. What will happen to that person? And then they may or may not be able to get insurance after that, right? So there are many types of long-term care. There's a standalone long-term care, which is a use it or lose it. So like car insurance, if I don't ever have a car accident, it's really just for peace of mind, right? So that's a use it or lose it, right? And that's available still. Not the most, probably not the most popular thing right now because of the fact that, we don't want to be the 30% who don't use it and lose that money, right? There's a hybrid long-term care, which is death benefit included. There's a small death benefit. And then if something happens where I don't use long-term care, I will still give something to my beneficiary. That's a good thing, right? And then also long-term care as a rider. Long-term care as a rider is basically, it's a permanent insurance. And what happened to people is that they're going to have a permanent insurance for lifetime. And I could be 80 years old, 90 years old. I don't die, but then I need some kind of living benefit, like I get sick and then need long-term care. So they can convert the policy into a long-term care policy. So they have a monthly benefit of care, so they can have someone come to the house, which is great because then I still have the death benefit. Anything I don't use, I'll give it to the beneficiary, right? Those are all pros and cons to each one. And there are costs involved, and you got to figure out what is right for you. And no one size fits all, right? And then I know there's people who sell term insurance, will sell the term insurance the best, right? The cheapest. But if you were to say, is the cheapest the best thing to go? Then, I really think it's value versus the cost, right? I sell term insurance as well. I sell a lot of them. So, it really depends on the person who is suitable for. And then, permanent insurance is that, how much does it cost? Is it worth it? Is it going to be too much, right? So those are the things that we will talk about in the future. But I just want to bring the awareness because in California, due to a high cost of care, government's already having an issue, right? As California is already pretty much in debt. So California Long-Term Care Department of Insurance has a long-term care task force already in place. They met many times already. They're proposing, following the Washington's footstep, is a mandatory payroll tax from each person's paycheck. So let's say, for instance, I make $100,000. I pay a percentage, let's say 1% or 0.5%, whatever the percentage is, towards this long-term care insurance, right? So I wanted to kind of, just bring that subject, and I will talk more if you're interested to know. Would you be impacted? Do you want to opt out if that's not something you want to pay for, right? So as we already know, I talked about what long-term care is. What happened in Washington is that there's no cap on this payroll tax on income. So if you make 100,000, you pay 0.58%. If you make 150,000, you pay 0.58%. You make 250,000, you still pay 0.58%. However, your benefit is the same, 36,500. Whether you pay more or you pay this less, doesn't matter, right? So you could be a very much a giver. You say, I don't mind paying taxes and I don't mind just getting 36,500. Well, lifetime benefit. 36,500, the question is practically, right? Do you think it's enough? We already talked about 1 year. It's at-home care is 52,000. I just talked to a friend. His mom was sick in the hospital for last stage of her life. She needed long-term care. It was $8,000. Yeah. So how long does 36,500 last you, right? So that's something that we really need to consider. How much is enough? If you need long-term care anyways, do you really want to pay for this long-term care tax as well as pay for additional long-term care, or maybe just find appropriate policy for yourself and put that in place so you have that peace of mind, right? Another thing about the paying for this kind of stay long-term care is that if I leave the state, then all the money you pay is gone, right? So use it or lose it. In this case, even if you stay in this, if you don't stay in the state, even if you need it in a different state, but you've been paying all this time in California, you don't get it, right? So that's the thing that I will talk more about the different types of the long-term care and the options and things like that. So I wanted to hear what your opinion is. Do you think do you mind the payroll tax? That's the first question, I guess. The second question is, do you think you need long-term care? And do you have long-term care? Do you want us to help you look at it? I will also have different seminars coming to help educate you. Let me know what specifically you want to cover so that way I can prepare something for you so you can have better access to the right information. I'm a broker dealer, so we basically have all the different life insurance companies. So we're not very much focused on which product I need to sell to you. Is more like which product is appropriate, right? And what is suitable for you. So I hope you find this video very helpful, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Since this is my first video, you know, what you'd like to hear, what you want to hear more of, and I will be I'll be happy to share more with you. All right. And with all that said, thank you so much for being on for my first batch of people who listened to my first video. Thank you so much, and looking forward to more journey with all of you and hearing from you as well. Take care. Bye-bye.